Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's webinar. So these webinars are hosted by the RCN Students Committee, and it's aimed at our brand shiny new nursing students who are joining us or have joined recently. And by us, I mean the wonderful nursing family, and we hope that you will also join our lovely big RCN family too. So RCN students have run quite a few webinars for various topics, but these ones are aimed specifically at you, so you can find out, what is the RCN and what can the RCN do for me. So my name's Jess. I am chair of the RCN Students Committee. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I am going to hand you over to our lovely guests who will introduce themselves, and they each have something thrilling to let you know about different parts of the RCN. So first up, we've got Mike Adams. So Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Jess. I'll try and live up to that. Hello everyone. My name's Mike Adams, and I'm RCN Director for England. But the reason I'm more involved in these webinars is that I'm also the executive team link for the student committee. So I take a big interest in student issues and making sure that we're obviously listening to what students need, listening to what students are talking about, what the major issues are, and making sure that it's in line with our work streams across the organisation, and that we all align our work from local interactions with universities all the way through to kind of influencing politicians around student issues. So as a starting point, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown really of a bit of information about the organisation. The RCN's a membership organisation of more than 460,000 members, which is made up of registered nurses, midwives, nursing support workers and nursing students. Our members work in a range of healthcare specialities and settings across the NHS and independent sectors. We have members based overseas and members who've retired, and around 35,000 of our membership are nursing students. So the organisation is both a professional body, which carries out work on nursing standards, on education, on best practice, and a trade union, in that we represent the professional interests and employment interests of nursing staff working in the public, private and voluntary sectors. Nationally, we're on what's known as the Nhs Staff Council, which is a group that negotiates pay, terms and conditions for NHS staff, but we also bargain for pay, terms and conditions with independent sector organisations. Locally, we have membership roles where members step forward and take on workplace representation roles. And we have 3 of those roles: stewards, safety reps and learning reps. And they represent members across the UK in local workplaces, and they're supported by our regional and country staff teams. Our wider membership offer is made up of various parts. You're going to hear a bit more about some of those areas tonight with some of the other guests, but we offer members free confidential advice and support on employment matters, career development, immigration matters, welfare, all sorts of different widespread areas that members might call our call centre about, known as RCN Direct. And advice can either be given there, or there's plenty of advice on our website, or if there's a specific local issue that members need support with, your call would be put through to a regional country team where part of the local team will offer that kind of more detailed support. Part of our work is around lobbying governments and other bodies across the UK to develop and influence and implement policy that improves either the nursing professional offer or the quality of patient care. And through our campaigns, we encourage healthcare officials and elected representatives to recognise the importance of nurses, nursing support workers and nursing students in improving these outcomes for patients. often many of the issues we are involved in, a whole range of things are often very much focused on what's best for patient care, whether we're campaigning about safe staffing levels, whether it's a pay campaign, whether it's about campaigning for student funding. Ultimately, this is so that we have a robust and adequately resourced workforce that can then deliver that patient care that we know all our friends and family expect and deserve. We promote and engage in nursing research, recognising that high quality nursing research has the power to transform care. And ultimately, we strive to be a sustainable and, importantly, a member-led organisation with the capacity to deliver our mission effectively and efficiently in accordance with what our kind of values and core objectives are. To that end, we're governed by a member-elected council of 17 members from across the UK, and we have other various member forums, professional forums, other committees such as the Student Committee, which are groups of elected members who dictate kind of work streams and areas that as a college we need to focus on, and where we will ensure that as an organisation the direction that we're going is absolutely in line in what is important to our members and where their needs lie. So that's a very probably brief overview of what the organisation is and what we can offer in some way. You'll hear a bit more detail now, but for me, very much the RCN is being part of a nursing community. It's about how we can raise our voice together to influence and to ensure that the nursing voice and nursing expertise in front and centre of all healthcare discussions.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike, for the whistle-stop tour of the RCN. For anyone watching, don't worry if most of that went over your head. I'm sure it will make sense at some point. Before I hand over to our next speaker, poor host, I forgot to say to our lovely audience at home, you should be able to see on your screen a Q&A box. If you pop any questions in there, then we will try and answer as many as possible toward the end of the webinar. So next up, we've got Phil. Phil, over to you.
Thanks very much, Jess. And thank you everyone who's tuning in, just for choosing nursing, really, especially at a time like this. I am one of the people on the panel who's not nurse trained myself, but having worked at the RCN for the last 5 years, it's really given me an appreciation for just what those involved in nursing do. So thank you. I'm going to talk from the library side of things. I'm one of the librarians at the RCN. And we are the largest nursing specific library in Europe, with over 54,000 physical books, over 20,000 ebooks and over 1,800 electronic journals. Probably the best thing for me to do is to actually share my screen with you and to show you the library website, and I can take you through an example of a search. Here's the slightly nerve-wracking bit where I try and share my screen. But hopefully that's now come up for you now, and you can see the library website. It's really easy to get to, so if you just do a search under RCN Library, you'll find us that way. I'm just going to do a quick search as an example, looking at honey in the context of wound care. So just type in our terms there, use the magnifying glass to search. You'll see in a second it comes up with quite a lot of results. So what we would need to do at this stage would be to narrow things down. So we can do that along the left-hand side. I'm going to choose full text online materials for the purposes of this demonstration. It's not always the best option, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll choose that one this time. I'm also going to limit to just the last 5 years. So you can see the slider here you can use. Also, you can just select this last 5 years option to narrow it down further. And we're going to look at journal articles as well. So you can see that by doing that, we're narrowing down the number of our results. You can narrow down further. We have, for example, subject terms you can use, or you could add words to the key terms here as well. For anything that's full text online, all you'd ever need is your RCN membership number and a password, which you can choose yourself, and then you can go straight to the full text of the article. There are a number of other options here. You can save items to a folder, so you can access them later. You can also, go back to my results here, send things to yourself via email. And a really useful option here is called Cite This Item. So you can choose a number of different citation formats. For most people, it'll be either Harvard or APA. I'm going to choose Harvard in this instance. And you can see that it brings up the reference, which is really useful because you can then copy and paste that into your assignment. One quick caveat is that you may need to change some of the syntax so it matches exactly your local referencing guidelines for your university. So often you'll need to add brackets around the year as an example. But I'm sure you'll find that one useful. In terms of our physical books, so for the moment, unfortunately, with things being as they are, you can't come to visit our libraries. So usually you'd be able to visit us in Belfast, Cardiff, Edinburgh or London. But what we are doing, we're sending books free of charge out to you in the post at the moment. So you'll just be responsible for the cost of sending the books back to us, but we can send them for free. Incidentally, when you're doing this search, and if you find you need any assistance with the search, you can use this chat now option. So during our opening hours, you just go to chat now and you'll be instantly connected to one of our librarian team. I'm just going to go back to the main library website now and just show you other support options that are available. So if you click on support here, you can go to literature searching and training. We offer Wednesday drop-ins between 2 and 4. You don't need to book for those. Or we offer you one-to-one training sessions. And these sessions are all about how to find information. We also have helpful video tutorials. So one on the library search, sort of like what I've just been showing you there, but a longer version of that you can work through in your own time. We have them on various databases as well, including CINAHL and British Nursing Index, which you probably don't need to worry about at this stage, but you'll encounter probably further on in your courses. If I go to our subject guides too, just to show you that we have over 50 guides based on various aspects of nursing, and also more general guides, for example, on how to do your dissertation when it comes to it. I'm just going to give you an example of a guide which I authored here on sustainable nursing practice. So they're usually split into 4 sections here. You have the quick definition at the top, and then you've got 4 sections, one on key resources, so items we picked out of our own, and also from other organisations such as the World Health Organization and the UN in this case on sustainability. We have a section for books, one for journals, and then in most cases you've got this explore section. So these are some videos that you can have a look at, either that we've done or that, for example, Barts Health NHS Trust have done in this case, or Plymouth University. In some cases, we've also got materials, historical materials, as we have an extensive archive within the library too. I'm also just quickly going to show you our events and exhibitions page. We have a number of events, but the one I just particularly wanted to highlight right now was the Get Online and Get Ahead with RCN Libraries. We've got one of these sessions coming up tomorrow and another one on the 29th of October. They're essentially an extended version of what I'm giving you now. So you can book up for those and then find out how to explore our resources. But that's really all I wanted to say for now. That's our About Us page with all of our contact details on it there. So you can get in touch with us by phone or email. Our opening hours 9 to 7 Monday to Friday, Saturdays between 9 to 5. Also, we're on all the major social media networks. Do give us a follow on @RCN Libraries on Twitter or Instagram, or also you can like our Facebook page as well. But that's all I have to say. The very best of luck with your studies, and do let us know if we can help with anything.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Phil. And although I'm not a student anymore, just come out of the other side of being a student. Yes, you have your university libraries available to you, but the library team at the RCN are all absolute babes, and I'm sure they don't mind me saying that. So they're so lovely, and no question's a silly question, and there's just so many resources and stuff, and I personally found it a lot easier to digest via there. But anyway, thank you very, very much, Phil. So next up, we've got Ian. Ian, over to you.
Thank you, Jess. Can you hear me? So good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting us. And I hope you're finding this useful. I know it's a lot of information. I'm not going to bombard you with too much. My name is Ian King. I've been working at the RCN since, 2007, mainly as a welfare advisor in the welfare service, and also for a year as a regional officer. So very much aligned to the trade union function of the RCN. But as I say, my substantive post now is as a welfare advisor in a service that is called Member Support Services. That comprises 6 constituent departments, the welfare service being one of them. So I'll give you a whistle-stop tour of each of those services and then signpost you to where you can get more information. As I say, I've been here for, 13 years, and I'm not here to scare anyone off, but I think it's important to think about what Mike's already touched on, the challenges that are currently faced by the profession, which are like never before. And I can't stress enough the importance of being a member of a trade union. So please do think about protecting yourself and indeed your patients by joining a trade union. So, Member Support Service, who are we? What do we do? We have, as I say, 6 services comprising an immigration advice service. That's specialist lawyers providing legal advice and representation for our members who are primarily in the UK working on visas, and that support is also extended to family members. So perhaps at this stage may not be a service that you will need to make use of, but certainly they do offer support sometimes to student members and advice for things. It might be something like a spouse visa. So that's the Immigration Advice Service. Secondly, we have a service called the Lamplight Support Service, and they work in partnership with the RCN Foundation, offering advice to members and assistance to members of the nursing family who are in financial hardship. So that might be income maximisation, or in some cases that may be charitable grants from the RCN Foundation. Should highlight that in most cases, students are excluded from the grant provision, but there are exceptions to that. The reason for that being the statutory funding that's in place, and indeed the discretionary funding that's also available. But as I say, there are some caveats to that. So again, bear them in mind. We have the welfare service. As I say, I'm one of 2 welfare advisors. We provide what's called regulated debt advice and debt counselling for people who have unmanageable or unexpected debt. The advice we give is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority because of the nature of it. We also help members with welfare benefit and tax credit entitlements, usually disputing decisions for benefits like universal credit or housing benefit, legacy benefits, and indeed tax credits. So there will be some students, quite often it's single parents or students with families who are claiming benefits as well, and those are the ones that we commonly deal with in the welfare service. Perhaps of most interest to you at this stage on your journey will be the student money guide that we've produced in the welfare service. You can access a taster of that on our web pages, and I'll share the screen at the end. And obviously, if you join, then that's a key benefit for you. We also have a counselling service offering short-term telephone-based counselling. That's one-to-one psychological support to help people with their emotional health, and indeed to help you maintain self-care while completing your studies, which is so important always, but ever more so at the moment, ensuring your safety, that your emotional health is good, and also that of your patients. Additionally, we have a careers service. They offer a range of services and indeed resources. There's a huge online resource from them. They offer career coaching. They offer help with CVs, CV workshops. They offer help with interview skills, and they have a dedicated resource for student nurses online. So a brilliant resource, and one that can help you now and indeed going forward with your career, and one certainly that's heavily used by our members. and well regarded. Lastly, we have a peer support network for members who have a lived experience of disability or neurodiversity, by which that can encompass dyslexia, dyspraxia. And that's a support network that you can join online and share experiences, stories, get advice from your peers. So again, another invaluable service. So let me see, I've whizzed through those. Let me see if I can just successfully share my screen with you. And okay, there we are. So this is the Member Support Services webpage. As I say, if you go on as a non-member, you can kind of get taster information regarding each of the services. The peer support I mentioned, you can join online. The student money guide you will find in there, lots of resource from counselling, things like guides around mindfulness and ways to really ensure that your emotional health is as robust as possible. The careers service, there is a wealth of information on there, which I personally think is brilliant. So get on and have a look. And that's all from me at this stage. So just wishing you all the best with your studies and welcome to the nursing family.
Thank you so much, Ian. So next up, we've got Tarina. So Tarina, over to you.
Hi, good evening. Nice to be here. Wow, thank you for choosing nursing. I think everybody has said that this evening, but absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure that my colleagues have already persuaded you to join the RCN. So hopefully what I'm going to tell you about this evening will cement that for you. My name is Tarina Shears. I'm the RCN's Head of Customer Service. So I'm responsible for the RCN Direct Advice Line, for complaints and feedback. And a little bit like Ian there, I am here to talk to you about the support and guidance that we offer you as a student, and then also throughout your nursing career, and not actually wanting to scare you either, but you know, joining a trade union is something that you really do need to do. You probably would be thinking actually that you won't ever need to contact to us in your career, that you wouldn't need any support and advice, and that would be great if that happens, but actually the reality is that we have around 6,000 members who contact us each month, and tens of thousands of access our online Get Help pages. The majority of issues that we're contacted about can be categorized under problems at work. Anything from I've made a drug error, I'm having trouble on my placement, I've been referred to the NMC, I'm not getting on with my boss. So it's vast, the amount of queries that we have. So I am also going to try be technical and share my screen. And hopefully you can see my screen, which actually is just the front page of the website. And the thing that I wanted to show you is how you can access our services. So into Get Help. And here you will see how you can access into well, over 80 advice guides actually, but you'll see here one of our biggest used guide at the moment is COVID-19. So that is the top sort of hitting advice guide for us today. Not surprising. See, throughout the pandemic and the early days, this was being updated regularly, daily, with masses of information as we were developing position statements and guidance, etc. Below here, then you see these are our popular topics, and there will be a number of those that will be applicable to you now, but also in the future throughout your career. You see how you can access here legal support. So we have specialist legal teams that can support and represent you as a member, helping you with NMC referrals, police matters, etc. You know, even as a student, your PIN can be at risk. Even more reason to join us. And we have some great stats actually around that. You know, you're basically better off being with the RCN when you know, if you're unfortunate enough to be in front of the NMC than without us. So it's best to be with us rather than without us. So and then also here, Ian talked about these member support services, and you access all of this through RCN Direct. So the advice guides are in alphabetical order, and as I say, there was 80 plus advice guides. There are a couple that I'd want to point out that are particularly good for students. So there's a whole student nurses section here. There's the COVID one specifically around students, but as you can see there are just tons for you to be taking a look at, and how we can support you through your student time. And here as well, particularly looking at student electives overseas. And here the COVID-19 advice guide. So this is for students and trainee nursing associates. So all of your questions hopefully answered in this nice little neat guide. Other ones that you might find of interest in, as you go through your career, whole section here on NMC. Contracts is another area that we get lots of contacts about, and pay. So as you can see that, we're here to help every step of the way. Now, these would be your sort of go-to place if anything happens to you in work, but if you want to talk about that a little bit further, then after visiting our web pages, you can actually contact our advice team to see if you can gather any additional, if you need any additional support. The advice service you'll see is open 9 till 5 in the weekdays and 9 till 4 on weekends. However, our chat service is open 12 hours a day. And so you'll be able to live chat. So if you click on here, you'd be able to live chat with an advisor. And then you can also contact us online. So you just need to fill out a form, and we'll reply to you by email, normally the same day. So that's available for you. So I've been talking about, a lot of the things that will support you through your career. However, it's important that there are lots of other benefits. So rather than just thinking about us as that sort of insurance, as contacting us in the hour of need, there's lots more to being a member than getting that support, advice, and if necessary, representation. There's loads of cool stuff as well. So we've got, there's discounts that you can access, member offers, and you can get lots of discounts on things as an RCM member. And also something that's close to my heart is campaigning with us as well. So you can go online and take a look at all of our campaigning work that we do, and how you can get involved in that campaigning work. The students are the future, and we want you to be part of the organisation and be with us and fighting for the nursing profession. So hopefully you won't ever have to contact us in that way, but if you do, if you do, then you know that we'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's really, really lovely and helpful. So next up is myself, which is a bit weird. So just to give you guys who are watching a bit of an insight as a student who has been a member of the RCN. So I, you know, a bit of a disclaimer, I am now qualified or registered, woohoo. But I joined the RCN back in 2016 when I started my course. I was actually a super keen bean, and I think I joined the RCN just before I even stepped foot into university, because I did that whole looking around Facebook, seeing what people were recommending, and the RCN was the one that a lot of people were recommending at the time. And do you know what even sold it even better for me was when I then rocked up to uni, they were giving away all these goodie bags. So not one to miss out, I decided to go up to the stand of the RCN people and asked, you know, this is my membership number, can I have one too, please? And they were very lovely and said yes, of course, but it isn't just about goodie bags, guys. So that was back in 2016, as I've said. And then, to be honest, you know, when you start university, the amount of information you get, it can be quite overwhelming. And I didn't do a lot at that point. But I did, you know, take note of the things that I was emailed. I joined a couple of Facebook groups which were there for that additional layer of support that wasn't just, you know, my local university. I felt like I was part of something bigger even at that early stage in my course. So yeah, I had a bit of a nose around the website as well. I used it as a source for a couple of my essays. Top tip there, guys. Definitely some good sources on there. And then during my first year, I was lucky enough to get a student-funded place at Congress. Now, what is Congress, you may ask? So every year, obviously, didn't happen this year because COVID, but it was held online. The RCN holds its annual kind of conference where loads of people from nursing up and down the country and all come together. We have debates, there's events. It's just absolutely, it's an amazing experience, and I really recommend any student to go along. They love it when students attend. It's just absolutely amazing. And what you do at Congress, which is actually quite important, I should mention, is you set the direction of the college for the year ahead as well. So you're not just going for a jolly, although it is very jolly as well. So after that, it did kind of snowball for me, if I'm completely honest. I ended up being in part of one of their campaigns, which is One of Us. If you Google it, you may find me somewhere looking very fresh-faced and keen and loving life. Not that I'm not that now, but a bit older. I signed up to be a student information officer, which are now called student ambassadors. So definitely check those out. Even if you're in your first year, check it out. And if it's something you're interested in, let the students committee know. If you've got any questions, get involved. But I also did quite a lot of stuff locally with the RCN. So I found out who my branch was. I went to a couple of their meetings. Obviously at the moment they're holding them online, but those guys were incredibly approachable and supportive and lovely. And again, was that extra layer of support that I felt I needed as a new nursing student. From my branch, I then connected into my region, which is the southeast where I am. Met some more really great people that I wouldn't have met necessarily through my course or, you know, through placements. And I went to a couple of student events. The RCN does put on quite a lot of things for students. So, you know, either sign up for the emails and stuff or just check it out on the website too, because it's all updated on there. And if I'm completely honest, when I got a bit more active in the RCN, I wasn't that interested in the trade union side of it. It was more about the professional body, and I know different people like different things and not one size fits all. So if one part of it is for you, then that's fine. But now I've come to the end of my student journey, I realise that they both kind of intertwine and it's all related anyway, as much as I try to resist it. And then I decided, you know what, I've got quite a lot out of this organisation. I'm going to stand for a place on a seat on the committee, and I got voted in, which was absolutely amazing. I could go on, but there are lots of questions, so we're gonna go through them. But if I could just give you guys my highlights of being on the RCN Students Committee and being an active student member in the RCN. I've attended conferences, I've represented my peers, I've attended debates and participated in them. As I've said before, I've attended Congress, but to vote, and also to organise a student programme along with my peers. Got very active in the campaigning side, so you may hear about Fund Our Future or the Fair Pay for Nursing campaign. That is very much related to you guys as well as students, so get involved, see what's happening locally and just go for it is my advice really. I got political training support from the RCN because I thought, oh my goodness, this is way out of my depth, I don't know what I'm doing, and they were just so lovely and said, you know, these MPs are just people, so here's how to do it, you'll be fine. To the point where I've been in meetings with the Minister for Care, Helen Whately, more recently. And one of the highlights for me is getting involved with international nursing as well. I went to Athens last year, and that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't actively involved in the RCN. So I've been speaking for ages, and I know I've probably been speaking really quickly as well because I'm passionate and excited and I love it. But my advice to you guys as brand new students is don't compare yourself to others. Just get involved with what you're passionate about, and no question's a silly question. If you want to get involved with the RCN and you're not sure where to start, just ask one of us. It doesn't have to be someone who holds a position or has a fancy title like Mike's not regional director, sorry Mike, England director. Don't be put off by all of that, just ask the questions and go for it. So I'm going to stop talking now, guys, and we're going to go over to the questions that have been submitted by our lovely audience. So the first one's actually for me, but I might wrap it up if that's okay with question 3 for Mike, if that's okay, everyone. So I'm going to go straight to question 2, which is for Phil. So Phil, do you gain access to the library as part of your membership, or is this additional?
Right, so yeah, thanks for the question there. So you do get access automatically. So as soon as you register to join the RCN, you can immediately access all the books, ebooks, and other resources, the journals, etc. that I mentioned earlier on. As Jess said earlier on, we can really sort of complement what you'll have access to at your own university. So particularly this time of year where you get your reading list and everyone's sort of clambering after the same materials. If you're an RCN member, you can go onto our library search that I showed you before and see if some of those books, etc., might be available through us as well.
Awesome. Thanks very much for that, Phil. So next up, Mike, I'm going to join our questions up if that's okay, but I'll hand to you first and then I can fill in the gaps if this is how we roll. So Mike, just wondering what will happen to all nurses on clinical and placement learning in relation to COVID-19? And then my question was a COVID question as well, and it's how are nursing placements affected by COVID-19? Yeah. Over to you, Mike.
Okay, so we can do a little bit of a recap of the year so far, actually, in that obviously during our first wave of COVID, it was very into the unknown, really, and we didn't know what the world didn't know what it was going to look like, and a decision was taken to offer for final year students to enter into the workforce and be paid for their placements. So they were removed from the supernumerary status that students hold, and we did a lot of work as an organisation with the student committee, working with government agencies such as NHS England, Health Education England in England, and the equivalent areas in the other 3 countries, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland, to ensure that those contracts that student went on to were fair and equal across different areas. And students did have an option to take on one of those placements or to just focus on their academic work and delay their placements for a certain period of time. And that was absolutely a personal decision and no pressure was put on students at all. Some students had to shield. Some students were concerned about their own relatives that they were living with, maybe. So there was a slight difference in what students decided to do. Ultimately, it worked with varying degrees of success. It was absolutely fantastic that so many students stepped forward to want to be on the front line and to support their colleagues in the workforce and look after people ultimately. But it has triggered obviously some real challenges for universities and local employers in terms of where students could go on placement, as a lot of services kind of were suspended during that time, as the focus was on purely on COVID care. As we came out of that first wave, a lot of work has been done to, obviously from universities, to get students back on track. Those paid placements have now ended, and we are talking to the different NHS agencies across the 4 countries about what would happen in a second wave. At this moment in time, I think the priority, like the message you'll be seeing today around local arrangements for lockdown levels, it feels like a similar approach will be taken for all services within the health service. There's more of certainly a desire for normal service for people to be maintained as best we can through a second wave, so people are not missing out on care they should be receiving outside of COVID. And our priority is to lobby and to work with different agencies to make sure that students have access to placements that they need, that students are risk assessed going into placements, and that they're supported with their learning in those placements as supernumerary status, in addition, not included in workforce numbers. And there was another element that I've just totally gone off the top of my head, but it will be very much locally what the situation is in terms of where placements are available, where students can go. But as we go along, as members, you will be able to contact us and ask us for advice. And if you feel there's a real issue that you can't resolve locally with your university, we can help with that. We can advise you, or we can see if there's anything locally we can do with that. But very much the feeling we're getting and that we would support at this point is that university courses are facilitating help to carry on, so we don't have delays in students going through their courses, because ultimately we need you all to join the workforce as kind of registered nurses in 3 years' time, and we want to try and avoid delays to that. So very much more of a local based response this time, but very much we will be looking out for students to make sure you're treated fairly and that you are safe in your placement areas. Jess, do you want to add anything to that, because you were obviously front and centre with us going through that first wave?
Yeah, so I think you've covered most of it, Mike, and it's I think for me it's really important that nursing students know that they're not alone in this, and I know the experiences up and down the country with the first wave were very different depending on which uni you were at, where in the country you were, what trust you were going into, if you opted for the placement route rather than the theory route. But I think the important thing is know where your channels of support are, know how and where to escalate things. The Students' Committee very much fed into the decision-making tables in regards to the first wave, and I don't think that that's going to change for whatever happens with COVID going forward. So tonight, this isn't just about us, encouraging you to join the RCN, but we are the only trade union that has a committee for students like this. And we do have quite a loud voice. So I would definitely encourage students to find out who your local student ambassadors are, who your regional nation student committee members are, and just, start networking, start finding out what's going on and what is available to you, and try not to just don't bury your head in the sand is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But we very much, there are always loads of queries around things like will we go back to what we did before, or is there appropriate cover in place for students? And all of these questions that are fed into us and are really important, and there is a really handy webpage on the RCN website with these, like a kind of Q&A, and it will get updated as things change with COVID. So obviously find out who your student reps are, student committee or student ambassadors are, but also just bookmark that page on your laptop or your device. students, because as and when we get new information, the RCN will update it and share it with you as well. And another thing is the social media sites as well. So whenever the committee gets anything new, we will share it on there where appropriate as well. So you should get the information to you. Is that fair to say, Mike? Did you say?
I think so. I think we should just add that we're not, as an organisation, we're not in charge of this, if that makes sense. It's not us making decisions, but we absolutely can feed into where the decisions are being made, so we can get student voices heard. Because ultimately, whether it's your universities, your placement providers, whoever is surrounding you, we all want you to do well, and we all want you to get through your courses, and we all want you to stay safe. So any decisions made are in good faith, but we try and influence things rather than being being in charge of it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Cool. Okay, so next question is for Ian. Ian, with regards to stress, I feel physically sick. If this happens while working, would I get help to cope or try methods to help me?
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, and thanks for the question. The answer to that is absolutely yes. I mean, from a number of sources, really. I mean, you should expect support in terms of your place of study. Jess has highlighted very well, additionally, the support of your peers, through the networks that are available in the RCM for students. Further, I would say, your place of work will have a duty of care towards you. As a member of the RCN, there is a wealth of resource available to you. I talked earlier about the Counselling Service, which offers short-term, one-to-one psychological, emotional support, which is obviously completely confidential. That service have developed in partnership with various stakeholders and organisations some absolutely brilliant resources around self-care, strategies for dealing with things like stress, something that's affecting more and more people, and particularly in the nursing family at the moment. So there are some absolutely brilliant resources and indeed individuals available to you to help. So hopefully that reassures you that support is there.
Great, thank you very much, Ian. And as someone who's been through like the RCN and as a student, I didn't know about half of this stuff until probably like my second year. So it's really important that people know it's all there and they can access it as soon as possible. So thank you very much. The next question is for Mike. Sorry, Mike, I haven't given you much of a break. But Mike, how much is membership, and how much is membership after I qualify as well?
That is putting me on the spot, isn't it? So as students, it's £10 a year. But the easiest way to do that is to sign up online, and if you did direct debit monthly, it's 83p a month, 83p a month, which I think is fairly good value. When you become a newly qualified in your first year of being a newly registered nurse, you have a half 50% discount for your first year. So your first year as a newly registered nurse would be £8 a month, and then after that it's £16 a month is the full membership fee.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. Sorry if you felt like we put you on
the
spot. So the next one is for me. So what immunisations must be up to date for new nursing students? Now, this is really dependent on what immunisations you have already had yourself. So I think the best, rather than me trying to list off a load of immunisations that may or may not be applicable to you, I would suggest that you just go to your occupational health via your university. You should be able to get like a list of what immunisations you've had already from your GP, and then they will make sure that you get the jabs and stuff that you need before you go out onto placement safely. So I think that's probably the safest piece of advice I could give there, unless anyone else wants to add anything. No. So my next question is for Tarina. What do you mean by you are a trade union?
Okay, well, the definition of a trade union is an organisation with members and who are workers, who are nurses or part of the nursing family, and as a trade union, we look after your interests at work. On a big scale, we will be negotiating agreements on terms and conditions, on pay, discussing huge changes like redundancy. But on an individual level, as a member, we would be involved in discussing members' concerns with employers, and if needed as well, we would be going with members to disciplinary and grievance meetings. So this is all about looking after our members, well, throughout their student life, but then in through their working lives as well.
Awesome, thank you very much. I think that's a really good quick summary of what do we mean by a trade union, because I guess, yeah, if you haven't encountered it, then why would you know? So my next question is for Phil. Will you post out books still when the library reopens, and how do I return postal loan books?
Okay, thanks for those questions. So yes, postal loans, it's actually something we've offered ever since the library first opened way back in 1922, because we recognise that our members are based throughout the UK. So we will continue to offer that when we reopen. The difference is at the moment we're able to offer it completely free of charge because we recognise that during COVID it can be obviously a very difficult time for people. So we're waiving any postal charges in terms of sending them out for now. Normally it would just be the postal charge that you'd need to pay. There wouldn't be anything additional on top of that. So even more value for your 84p a month there. In terms of returning the postal loan books back, you can just send them back via registered mail. Or in normal times, obviously, if you're near one of the libraries, you can just drop them off at one of the libraries too.
Awesome. Thank you very much for clarifying that, Phil. So the next question, I'm really conscious of time, guys, but we can get through these questions because they're so important. So, Tarina, are your events normally online pre-COVID?
Well, short answer to that, no. It would be a mixture previously, but we've all had to change, haven't we, through COVID. Actually, what we have found is that the attendance at events, many events, has actually gone up because now we can reach more people. It can be a much wider audience where you don't have to physically be somewhere. I envisage in the future as and when we can meet, we will, but it will be, I imagine in the future it's going to be a mixture of face-to-face and online events.
Lovely, thank you. As much as I miss like the face-to-face events, it is so good, and I feel a bit more accessible to be able to attend more things online, because you don't have to take like a whole day out of it, do you, to attend? But can't wait for face-to-face to happen again, not gonna lie. Thank you. So Ian, this one's for you. Do you support mental health student nurses too?
Indeed, we do. We support all student nurses as long as you're in active membership. Then the offer is the same for everyone.
Fab. Thank you. Short and sweet,
but
it's the truth, isn't it? Okay, so our last question is for Phil. Phil, would you have any recommendation on how to do the assignments?
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I would just say use us as much as possible, really. I mentioned a couple of things that might be particularly useful that are coming up. So there's the Get Online and Get Ahead with RCN Libraries, the workshops that's happening. Both, there's one tomorrow, one on the 29th of October, so do sign up for one of those. We do have the information seeking sessions as well, where we can help you with how to find resources. Also, I mentioned the subject guides, and in there's a getting started guide, which includes study skills materials, so ebooks around study skills that you can download, again, free if you're an RCN member. And finally, also, probably at your university, there'll be a study skills section, which you can go to, and they'll be able to also help with how to do the assignments. I suppose my advice is, just to start as early as possible and to make use of the reading lists and to get those materials together. And again, that's something that we can assist you with.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So before I wrap up, guys, and sorry to put you all on the spot, but this is how I roll. I'm going to go round to each of you and ask you to just really quickly give one top tip for a new nursing student. So Mike, what's your top tip?
My top tip is always remember why you came into nursing. So if you wrote down now reasons why you wanted to be a nurse, I would imagine it would be things like you want to help people, you want a good career, you want to learn how to care for people properly, all those kind of things about being good to people and helping people and kindness. Just always remember why you came into nursing, because there will be hard days, there will be tough days, there will be really challenging days, but that inner feeling of wanting to help is what can often get you through a bad day. So I would say be kind to people, work hard, but always remember why you wanted to be a nurse in the first place, and that can often get you through some tricky moments.
Lovely, thank you, Mike. And Phil, what's your top tip for new nursing students?
Well, I mean, I can really speak from my general experience as a student, because I'm, as I say, I'm not nurse trained specifically myself, but just make the most of the opportunities that you have whilst you're a student. Speak to as many people as possible, try lots of new things and so on, and just enjoy it as well.
Love it, thanks, Phil. And Ian, what about you? What's your top tip?
My absolute top tip, just to sort of build on what Mike said, is taking all of your qualities and values and thinking about why you went into it. What I really want you to do is to have self-compassion, to look after yourself and notice how you're feeling. If you're not all right, seek out the right help, and if you're not sure who that is or where that is, ask someone. Don't hold on to it, find somebody to talk to, and and nurture yourself. It's a tough profession, and we're all in tough times, and that includes your financial health as well. Just look after yourself. It's the best advice I can give you.
Love it, thank you so much. And last but not least, Tarina, what's your top tip for new nursing students?
Well, of course, if you haven't already, join the RCN. But also about if be the change that you want to see and that you want to see in nursing, and if you see something that could be done better, or in fact if you see something that that you need to speak up about, then do you are part of this. So absolutely, speak up, and we can help you. We can help you be the voice of nursing.
I love it. I actually had a notepad with Be the Change when I was in my first or second year. It was really good motivation. Yeah, bit of advice there. So thank you, everyone. I want to say a special thank you to our guest presenters this evening for sharing your nuggets of wisdom. They have been absolutely amazing, and I wish that I had this insight into the RCN and just nursing in general when I started my course at the very beginning. I'd also like to thank our background team who have been there to set these webinars up and help us with the technical side of things, and of course, most importantly, our audience at home for tuning in. So for those of you who are watching, there will be a recording of tonight's webinar available on the RCN YouTube, and it will be sent out to you in an email within the next few days, so you can watch it over again. So don't worry if you've missed anything, you will be able to catch that later. And we do actually have another one of these webinars, which is happening on the 28th of this month, and hot off the press, we have an extra special guest attending as well. So our Chief Exec and General Secretary, Dame Donna Kinnair, will be speaking as well, which is absolutely amazing. She is an absolute boss. Oh, I should probably mention to you guys too that the RCN Starting Out, which is the new app for student members, newly qualified members as well, anyone who wants to download it from the website, is available. So it provides the latest learning, advice, support and benefits for nursing students. You can find out more by visiting the RCN website /startingout. Just a top tip from me to you on that is you download it straight from the website. So don't go to your app store, go to the RCN's website and you will be able to get it from there. I've told you about the next webinar, which is amazing. So yeah, for further information about RCN student membership, the benefits of it, and just please sign up to the RCN if you haven't already, because for 84p a month it is 100% worth it. And as someone who has just gone to the half price NQM membership, still 100% worth it for what you get for it. And before I forget, please follow RCN Students. We are on Twitter at RCN Students. We are on Instagram at RCN Students, and we are on Facebook. We've got an open page and a closed group for that support too. So that is all from us tonight. So thank you very much for joining, everyone. And yeah, we hope to see you soon, either virtually or in person. Best of luck with your studies. Thank you.